Okay, perfect. Thank you. And we'll kick off this session with just some short remarks from the Lieutenant Governor herself. So give me just 1 second to put that up on the screen.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, and I use she, her pronouns. Welcome to today's Equity in Farming Virtual Lunch and Learn, hosted by my office. I want to take a moment to thank our panelists for sharing their knowledge and spreading the word about resources that can help cultivate an agriculture industry as vibrant and as diverse as the state of Illinois. I also want to thank all the farmers and growers joining us today. If you're just starting out in the industry, or in your time in ag, you've struggled to find others who look like you or understand your experiences, know that your work is so important. I firmly believe that because ag connects us all. And in fact, that's the name of my office's Agricultural Equity and Food Insecurity Initiative. As part of this initiative, we've traveled all across the state to listen and learn from stakeholders just like you. It was inspiring and so enlightening. We learned that one of the top needs to make ag more equitable was access to knowledge about statewide programs and pools of funding that can benefit your work. So we're doing just what makes ag so powerful, what makes your work so invaluable. We're connecting. Today, you get to hear directly from leaders of state and federal agencies about the resources that can benefit your work. You're in store for an insightful conversation, and members of my staff will be here for the hour to help continue the dialogue, get answers to your questions, and most importantly, to stay connected. Thank you, and I'll now pass it over to Nick Davis.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We're going to have a few presentations from folks in our state agencies here with the goal of connecting you all with resources, putting a name and face to some of these programs that are happening around the state, and then also getting some insight into how well these services kind of meet the needs of the people who are in attendance as well. So thank you all so much for coming. We'll be having presentations from DCEO, USDA Rural Development, the Commission to End Hunger, and the Department of Agriculture. Before we jump into things, I want to give a few ground rules. So first, we really encourage use of Q&A and chat functions. Feel free to ask any questions that you have as these presentations go along, and we'll have a Q&A section at the end for folks to be able to, so that folks can ask those questions and we can give panelists a chance to address them. There is a Q&A function if you look in the bottom right hand of your screen on WebEx. If you click the ellipses for more options, you can pull up that Q&A and you can ask questions directly in there. And as we're going through the presentations, panelists can answer your questions there, or you can feel free to just pop them right into the chat, and folks from the Lieutenant Governor's staff will be kind of combing the chat and making sure we can ask all those questions at the end. If you end up having any technical issues, feel free to shoot a direct message to Janelle or Victoria from our team, and they'll see what we can do to accommodate. And if you need closed captioning as well, I know that those options are available through the ellipses at the bottom of your screen as well. After the Q&A, there will be a little bit of follow-up, and we'll make sure to send out any resources and links and presentations that are shared from this presentation to all people who are in attendance afterwards. yeah, besides that, enjoy the presentations and really hope that you all get a lot out of them. So we'll kick it off first by having presentations from Kim Watson and Chris Connors of DCEO. Chris and Kim, go ahead and kick it off.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kim Watson. I'm going to go ahead and try and share my screen here. Okay, is that good? As I said, I'm Kim Watson. I'm with the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. My colleague, Chris Connors, will also be presenting with me. We are with the Regional Economic Development Team. Under RED, the state is broken down into 10 regions, and we have staff that live and work in each of these regions. I'm in the southern region, which consists of 19 counties.
Good afternoon. I'm Chris Connors, and I'm also with Team Red, and my region consists of 10 counties in the northwest portion of the state.
Thank you, Chris. Under Illinois our state 5-year plan, that is our roadmap to revitalize the economy. It highlights our assets, which include our transportation network. When we say that, think rail, water, and roads, and then our natural resources. The key industries are listed on the slide. They're agribusiness and ag tech, energy, information technology, life sciences, and healthcare, manufacturing, transportation, and logistics. There's the link for where the economic plan can be found. Also in that, under the agribusiness and ag tech, investments for those two programs have been identified as targeting investment for broadband and research. And the reason that's important to tech, agribusiness and ag tech, is that will facilitate adoption for the small and mid-sized farms. Also encouraging innovation among suppliers and processors of ag products, and boost the connection with global markets. While we have no direct programs for assistance with food security, we recognize those needs in our region and are working on solutions. For example, I'm working with the University of Illinois team that is working to bring a grocery store to Cairo. Cairo has been without a grocery store for a long time, and hopefully we are close to the goal of getting one back in the community. Chris and I are going to highlight a few other programs that might assist those experiencing food insecurity. The first one is the Illinois Home Weatherization Assistance Program. And this program helps low-income residents and households conserve fuel and reduce energy costs by making their homes and apartments more energy efficient. And in these times of rising prices, who doesn't need a little assistance with their energy bills and looking at ways to make their home more energy efficient? These services can be funded, that are funded under this program, and are listed on that slide. They include ceiling, insulation, HVAC repair or replacement, your water heater repair or replacement. The maximum for each home is $16,000 for these energy-related weatherization and repair work. The maximum for health and safety-related issues are $3,500. The eligibility for this program depends on the household income, and that is combining everyone living in the household, their income. And to be eligible, To receive the assistance, the combined income must be at or below 150% of the federal poverty level using state funds, and 200% of the federal poverty level using DOE and HHS funding. So what does this mean, or what does this look like? An example is a 4-person household at or below 53,000 is eligible. The chart for that is on the website. Again, you can access that by the Department of Commerce's website. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris to go over a few more programs. Chris, just tell me when you want me to advance the slide for you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Kim. The program I'm going to talk about, one of the first programs I'm going to talk about, is a program that's been around for quite some time, but is also still, very important, and a program that I think everyone should know about it. And it's called the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. We always love acronyms, so we call it LIHEAP. It helps individuals pay for energy services. As Kim said, we all know that utility prices have gone up, and not in a faster pace than wages have gone up, quite frankly. So this program is very important for Illinois residents with a household income that does not exceed an amount determined by the Department of Commerce. And so that annual eligibility level are determined based on funding, and may not exceed 200% of the federal non-farm poverty level. So similar to the weatherization program Kim was mentioning. So and on top of the energy bills like power and gas, you will also qualify for assistance with water and wastewater bills if your household gets disconnected, or is about to get disconnected, or you're more than $50 behind. So you can apply for LIHEAP as this. You can apply for the water assistance program at the same time that you apply for the LIHEAP. You can go ahead and advance the slide, Kim. Thank you. So in a previous life, I actually did LIHEAP applications. So I can tell you that the documentation that is listed is very important. In a minute, we'll direct you to the website. So for each household member, so that's each adult in the household, you have to have the following documents ready. Excuse me, it's not just the adults, it's all members of the household. So proof of past 30-day income through a pay stub, a check, or a copy of a check showing fixed the income amount. That might be through Social Security, VA, or DHS, or any other proof of documentation. The copy of the most recent heat and electric bills are required within the last 30 days. If you are directly paying the energy bill, it's a little different, which we'll go into in a minute. If you're renting and it's included in your rent, you will need a Social Security card or an ITIN for residents who have them. Residents who don't have them can still apply, and the local agency that is assisting will advise you what to do accordingly. A copy of the rental agreement if the utilities aren't included. So you would need to have that as well. And then proof the household received TANF or any other benefits, medical, SNAP, if you're receiving any assistance from the Department of Human Services. Kim, you can advance the next slide. So how to apply. So this is the website, helpillinoisfamilies.com. This is a really good resource and the best place to start. It allows you to fill out and submit an online request for services. You will then receive an email or a phone call from the local agency in your area that is administering the program that you'd applied for. And then they will assist you in setting up an appointment and to determine the amount of the LIHEAP benefit. While you're waiting for that appointment, it's really important that you're able to collect those documents that I mentioned on the last slide, and all of this information will be available, and they'll go over that with you on the phone so that when you do have your appointment, you're ready to go and things can move fast. If you do need assistance, the numbers here, the 833 number, that's a live support, and then, or you could go to the agency that contacted you directly. So this is the season where LIHEAP and the weatherization program are available between September 1st and May 31st, or until the funds are exhausted. So obviously, the quicker that you get in, the better in terms of making sure that you can get some of this funding if you're eligible. You can advance to the next slide, Kim. And then again, this is the Help Illinois Families call center number right there that we discussed earlier. Go ahead, Kim. And then another resource we just wanted to make sure we talked about is Illinois WorkNet. If you are in a position where you're looking for additional job or looking for links to resources, this is the website to go to. It's illinoisworknet.com. You can do everything from create and post a resume, look for a job, find a local agency based on your zip code that can help you with things like interviewing or finding employers are hiring. This link also has employers that are hiring. It has a link to any other state agency that you feel you might be able to access, whether that be DHS or Department of Rehabilitation Services. All of those agencies have links on this website. So it's a very user-friendly place to go if you have anything related to work or you're looking for a state agency that you think might be able to assist you. And then the last slide is just Kim and I's contact information, I think, Kim. As we stated, Kim's in the Southeast region and I'm in the Northwest, so we're very far apart, but we also can get you to the resources you need, and we actually will probably get your information if you do contact us to us to the person in your region who is a regional economic development manager, because they're going to have a better idea than we would if you're not in our region as to the resources that are available locally. So if you're in our region, we're of course happy to help you, but if you're not, we will still get you in touch with the correct person. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much for that, Chris and Kim. That's really helpful. And I just want to encourage people as questions come up or anything interesting during those presentations, feel free to use the chat in the Q&A box. And then we'll make sure to get to those at the end of the presentations. Great. So next up, we've got Matt Harris from USDA Rural Development. Matt, go ahead.
Thanks, Nick. So I did not prepare a PowerPoint just because they're kind of a limited time frame on presentations here. So I'm going to talk about a number of programs rural development has that none of them are specifically geared towards food security and hunger, but a lot of them have eligible uses of funds that can benefit that ultimate goal. And I did provide Nick with links for fact sheets for each of these programs I'm going to be touching on. So I believe he'll be sending that out afterwards in case anybody wants to look up a little bit additional information or kind of get a recap on the programs. So the first program I'll discuss is called the Value Added Producer Grant. This is one of the few grant programs we have that for-profit businesses can actually apply directly for. The purpose of it is to strengthen farm-based businesses through supporting value-added agriculture. So what that means is we can either do a planning grant or a working capital grant. A planning grant would be if you needed to get a consultant to do a business plan, feasibility study, or market analysis for your value-added ag venture. Working capital actually helps cover some of the day-to-day expenses of those that running that value-added business. It doesn't do ag production. Really, none of our programs are geared towards ag production. That's all USDA Farm Service Agency. And really, this program does not have to be food related, but in my experience, most of the projects are food related projects. So for example, you have a dairy that wants to produce cheese and make their dairy farm more sustainable and diversified. That's the kind of project this program can help with. But it also considers stuff like organic and locally grown food products to be value-added products as well. So the planning grants can go up to $75,000 and the working capital grants can go up to $250,000. So this program essentially promotes food products, which is going to add additional food supplies to the region where that product's being produced. Next, I'll talk about our Business and Industry Guaranteed Loan Program. This is a commercial loan guarantee where commercial lenders make the loan. Rural Development issues a guarantee to those lenders to help them kind of shore up any risks associated with the project, get the borrower sometimes longer repayment terms. So this is not geared towards specifically for food businesses. It can go across all sorts of different industries, but we do see projects such as food manufacturers, grocery stores, so forth and so on, or supply chain type businesses. While a lot of rural development programs are limited to rural areas, this program can go into urbanized areas if there is a locally grown food aspect of the project being financed. And this program can guarantee loans of up to 25 million. So next program is a very similar program. It's called the Food Supply Chain Guaranteed Loan Program. This is a temporary program. It came out of one of the bills passed by Congress in response to COVID-19 and the pandemic. So it largely mirrors the Business and Industry Guaranteed Loan Program in its purpose or in its mechanisms, in that it is a loan guarantee to private lenders for business projects. Only it has a more narrow scope. The projects have to be for businesses operating in the middle of the food supply chain, so not ag production and not retail sales, but kind of everything in between there. Unlike the BNI program, the Business and Industry Loan Guarantee Program, there are no rural area requirements. This project that qualifies for this can be anywhere in the United States. There are no guarantee fees, while our normal loan guarantee do have upfront and annual renewal fees to help cover some of the costs of the program. This program has no fees whatsoever. And the project does have to be for either the startup or the expansion of a project that works in the middle of that food supply chain, because the intent is to increase capacity in the food supply chain so that if another pandemic or similar issue comes along in our country, in our economy, in the world, our food supply chain is more robust and able to withstand the impacts that COVID had on the food supply chain. So this program can guarantee loans of up to $40 million. And I did mention it's temporary. There's approximately $1.4 billion in funding and loan guarantee authority allocated for this program, and that's available until it's exhausted. Next, I will talk about a program called the Rural Business Development Grant. This is a longstanding grant program that's been around for a long time. It's for public bodies and nonprofits with the intent of promoting small business development in rural areas. There is a limited amount of funding in this program. Illinois usually receives between $600,000 and $700,000 annually for projects, for applications just within the state of Illinois. So typically applications are around 100,000 or less in order to remain competitive based on the scoring criteria. And it's a very versatile program. It can be used for things such as technical assistance, the purchase or improvement of real estate, the purchase of equipment that can be leased out to a small business. Kind of where we've seen this program be used before is technical assistance to ag producers, or technical assistance to projects where they want to form a food hub to benefit all the ag producers in the area to kind of consolidate their food, and as opposed to having 12 farmers all delivering to the same market. It can be used for a commercial kitchen where the real estate is purchased, improved, equipment's purchased, and is leased out to small businesses that don't have their own commercial kitchen operations and need to kind of use that on an as-needed basis. It can be used for projects to benefit food processing businesses. So it's a really versatile program, and that is an annual program that we operate within the state, or I guess it's nationally, but we process all the applications in the state of Illinois in our Illinois state office. Next, we have the Meat and Poultry Intermediary Relending Program. This is another temporary program that came out of the COVID stimulus bills. It is a revolving loan fund program geared towards public bodies and nonprofits. It is a grant program that has a minimum of $500,000 and a maximum of $15 million. And the intent is to start a revolving loan fund to loan to businesses wanting to expand in the meat and poultry processing industry. There has already been one application cycle come and gone, and there will be one more on this program until the funding is exhausted, and that has not yet been announced. I believe once the money for this program, once it goes and loans out to businesses starting up or expanding in the meat and poultry processing business, once that money has revolved, meaning it's gone out and it's come back in, I believe the eligible uses of funds opens up to similar to the food supply chain program, where it's all businesses in the middle of the food supply chain can borrow under that particular program. Next, we have another temporary program called the Meat and Poultry Processing Expansion Program, or MPEP is the acronym we use at the government. This is actually, again, this is a grant can be to a for-profit business. It's a grant to start up or expand meat and poultry processing ventures. to expand capacity in the food supply chain, specifically in meat and poultry processing. The maximum award is $25 million or 20% of the project cost, whichever is less. And similar to the intermediary relending meat program, there's already been one application cycle, and there will be one more that has yet to be announced. And after that, the program would theoretically go away unless it's reauthorized by Congress. The next program I will discuss is our community facilities programs. So I work in our business program section. This one's a little out of my comfort zone. This one is delivered by our community facilities staff at Rural Development. So under the community facilities program, there are direct loans, there are loan guarantees, and there are grants. What is available, whether it's direct loans or loan guarantees, I believe largely depends on the household income of the area. Eligible applicants are nonprofits and public bodies that want to develop essential community facilities. So where we see this used a lot is for community centers, police stations, fire trucks, libraries, that sort of thing. But where this type of project or this type of program could impact the food industry is we have seen projects before for food pantries. So, a food pantry wants to build a new building or acquire additional equipment. They could qualify for either grants, direct loans with subsidized interest rates, or loan guarantees through commercial lenders for projects like food pantries. So the last item I will talk about, it's more of a referral than a program that that a project would be looking to apply for. Over at Western Illinois University, they have an economic development arm called the Illinois Institute for Rural Affairs. Hopefully, a lot of people on the call are familiar with them. Rural Development funds a program called the Cooperative Development Assistance Center through our Rural Cooperative Development Grant. That's a grant to universities, nonprofits to provide professional assistance to rural cooperatives. And where we've seen that used, especially with Illinois Institute for Rural Affairs, is they've done a lot of work with small town grocery stores where the small town grocery store couldn't make it. They had one for years. It closed down. It just couldn't make a go of it. And they have a lot of expertise at coming in and helping them get together a cooperative model for local grocery stores where it's kind of community owned and operated. That's not the only industry in which they operate. They can help any sort of cooperative, and it doesn't necessarily have to be food-based, but that is an example of how that particular program and their professional assistance in cooperative development can help strengthen food supply chain and address hunger and food insecurity. So I know that is a lot of information I threw at everybody in a short period of time. Like I said, the fact sheets will kind of help remind you of all the details I just kind of threw out, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end.
Thanks so much for that, Matt. And I see there's a lot of excitement for these different resources in the chat too. So appreciate you taking the time to break those down to us. Next up, we'll have Rob Barron from the Department of Ag share a little bit. Go ahead, Rob. Hey, Rob, we can't hear you. You should.
There we go.
Perfect.
So I am sharing and to the. Okay. This will be something of a sort of a coming attractions from the Illinois Department of Agriculture, things that are coming up to take a look at. First up, this is our kind of a pre-announcement. We haven't had a formal announcement yet because, of course, we are signing paperwork. The Local Food Purchasing Cooperative Agreement, or LFPA, is an arrangement that the Department of Agriculture worked with the United States Department of Agriculture, also our partners at the Illinois Department of Human Services. This is going to be probably over $14 million for over 2 years for purchasing of food from local farmers and distributed to food insecure families throughout Illinois. As a part of the Illinois Department of Agriculture's application to USDA, we will be making 100% of food purchases from underserved farmers throughout Illinois. This is a 2-year program, and in year 1, we will work to design and develop food hubs throughout the state, along with distribution networks. We'll be working with stakeholders to ensure that small farmers have the opportunity to get their food to the marketplace so that it can be purchased and distributed. Again, this is a purchase, not a donation. And then in the second year, once we've built that out, we will purchase and distribute food. We will be starting year 1 here very shortly. We hope that this is a program that USDA will see the value of continuing to fund. So hopefully at the end of this 2-year period, we will continue to do this work. The second is the Agriculture Equity Commission. The Ag Equity Commission was passed by Representative Sonia Harper and Senator Mike Simmons in the spring session, and then signed into law in May of 2022. The commission's goal is to ensure equity in the state's top job producing industry, which is agriculture, by recognizing the lost African American farmers and growers and the difficulty other minorities have faced in the agriculture industry and the effect those difficulties have had on the food system, health, and economy of vulnerable communities. The 28-member commission will begin work on January 1 of 2023. Appointments have started to the commission. I'm going to go to the next slide. I'm going to warn you that it has got some teeny tiny writing on it, but I wanted to make sure that folks were able to see the list of appointees to the commission. That includes members appointed by the legislative leaders. And then it includes Director Costello here at the Department of Agriculture, the Director of Public Health, and then a large number of agricultural stakeholders who will be appointed by the governor. Again, we sort of hope to have that commission seated around the first of the year. The commission is designed to meet quarterly, and we hope to meet all of those milestones. I just want to thank you all for letting me have an opportunity to present on this. My contact information is available below. Again, we'll have more formal announcements on both of those in the coming days and weeks, but I wanted to give Lieutenant Governor's guest today a little bit of a sneak peek of some things that are up and coming. Thank you all.
Thanks so much for that, Rob. That was really helpful and enlightening. And I want to encourage folks again to use the chat if you have any questions for folks here too, and we'll get to them all at the end. Our final presenter for the day is from the Commission to End Hunger. We have Sophie Millam from Greater Chicago Food Depository. Sophie, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you so
Great.
much for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I am glad to be here to talk a little bit about the Illinois Commission on Hunger. For those of you who aren't familiar with the commission, it was established in 2010 as a public-private body that's really focused on creating a roadmap for ending hunger in Illinois. And over the years, there's been several successes from this commission. Most recently in 2021, the commission released its roadmap for ending hunger in Illinois, and work groups formed by the commission or convened by the commission have been mobilizing to help achieve those goals. So really quickly, the way that the commission is approaching its roadmap is thinking about three big levers that we can pull in Illinois. One is technology. Private sector does a really great job of leveraging technology. How can we use it to make it easier for people to apply for and maintain their enrollment in public benefit programs like SNAP and WIC and school meals? The second lever is innovation. So how do we innovate the way that we're connecting people with food, whether that means mobile delivery of a meal program to someone, being able to purchase your groceries online, mobile delivery of food pantries. Those are some kind of tangible ways of thinking about innovation, but there's also policy innovation. There are regulations that the federal government has on federal nutrition programs, but states actually have a lot of discretion in how they implement them. So we want Illinois to be a leader in innovating what policy waivers and pilots and things that we use to better connect people, make it easier for them to access nutrition assistance. And then the last pillar of the of the commission's work is collaboration. How can we work better together toward our shared goal of ending hunger and connecting people to food? One of the major initiatives that the commission has there is around marketing. How do we, there are all these great programs that we have. For the most part, anybody who is eligible for most of the federal nutrition programs, so long as they apply and they're eligible, they can get access to those benefits. So it's a really great way to draw down federal funds to help Illinois residents, Illinois communities. But not everybody necessarily knows which programs they're eligible for, where to sign up. Getting more partners, more stakeholders to share that information would be really powerful. But what we need is to have some good resources. So we're investing in some marketing materials focused on the programs that have the lowest utilization or on populations that have the lowest utilization of programs to bring greater equity and access. So we're really excited. I'm going to drop a link into the chat for the commission website. It talks more about those goals. It talks about some progress that we've made in the first year and a half of having this roadmap, but would welcome anyone. I think there's also an opportunity on the website to sign up for our emails. So if you'd like to get quarterly updates about what the commission is working on, would love to have you join us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that, Sophie. Really appreciate the time and talking about the good work that the commission is doing to address hunger here in the state of Illinois. So that concludes our formal presentations. Thank you so much to our presenters. That was really informative. I think there are a bevy of programs that you all discussed that folks can take advantage of, and it sounds like are curious about in the chat as well. So I want to take some time to pause here at the end of these presentations and see from any of our participants, are there any questions that you all have for any of the panelists that we've had on today? And I'll give a couple minutes for folks to think through them, but you can feel free to either post in the chat in the Q&A section, or you can raise your hand as well, and we can get one of our hosts to unmute you, and you can go ahead and ask the question.
Hey, Nick, there are 2 questions in the Q&A section.
Okay, wonderful. I just can't see them. So, Victoria, would you mind saying what those questions are? Because for some reason I'm unable to view them at the moment.
Okay, no problem. So the first one says, would it be possible to get notes or handouts for each of these programs from Matt? And I said, yes, we're going to follow up after the presentation. And the second question is, would these marketing resources for the Commission to End Hunger be translated into other languages, for example, Spanish?
Sorry, I think that second question was for me about the marketing materials.
I believe so. Sophie,
yes.
So,
Yes. All right. Thank you. Great question. Yes, we are still in the development phase, trying to do some insights with clients to understand what messaging, what information is going to be most helpful. Part of that is also understanding the type of material. Is it a poster? Is it a TikTok video? I'm not on TikTok, but apparently a lot of people are, what's really going to be the best vehicle? And then to your point, really great question. What are the languages that this is available in? So at a minimum, I would envision them being available in English and Spanish, but we're also exploring whether there's other languages that would be impactful.
Thanks so much for that. Appreciate that answer, Sophie. And also to address Pierre, your question earlier just around the handouts for each of these programs. So as a follow-up to this Lunch and Learn, every attendee in here will receive an email from myself with all of the links to all of the different agencies and programs that the agencies listed out, as well as contact information for folks, so that you can reach out and ask more questions along the way. And really what part of the goal is here is for folks to look at these resources and say, hey, making sure that people are aware of them, but and then also being aware of some of the gaps. If you look through these programs and you're saying, hey, I'm not seeing something that's going to serve me, feel free to reach out to us and we can try and connect you with programs and agencies and opportunities that do. But we will have a follow-up email to this as well with all that information. Are there any other questions from attendees for our panelists today? If not, then we really appreciate everyone's time for showing up today. I'm really grateful to the panelists for talking about the programs that you all are operating to help to organize, to help to end hunger and provide resources to people who are working in this space. A few things before we jump off. So, like I said, I'll be sending out a follow-up email with all of these information. Part of the goal of these seminars is also to connect participants like yourself and attendees like yourself directly with agency representatives so that you all have that kind of personal connection, but and then also have an overview of the programs that they're working with. And so I felt like we were able to do that today. Next week, this same time, on Thursday, the 13th, we'll be having another session that's going to be more focused towards resources for socially disadvantaged and new and beginning growers and farmers too. So if that's something that interests you, look out for that. We'll be sending out invitations to everybody who attended this for next week's as well. And that'll be a really exciting conversation. And know that this is the very beginning of the work that we're doing to work on food insecurity and agriculture equity issues at the state. And at the Lieutenant Governor's office. This Lunch and Learn series is really to establish some of those connections and identify some of the gaps. And over the coming years, we'll be finding more ways to engage with you all. So really appreciate you all taking the time and looking forward to what comes next. And yeah, like I said, look out for an email from me after this. So thank you all so much for your time.